It is Monday morning, and as of Monday morning, Brock Purdy leads the NFL in completion percentage at 70%, leads the NFL in the percentage of his throws that go for touchdowns, 7%, leads the NFL in yards per attempt, 9.9, has a chance at breaking Kurt Warner's single season record, recent modern record of players who wore at least 2 bars on their face mask record era, and is ninth in the NFL in interception percentage, 1.9%. That's excellent. 1.9% of his throws are interceptions. So completion percentage, touchdown percentage, yards per attempt leads the NFL in those three, interception percentage, top 10. Now, why are those stats significant? Because those are the stats that make up passer rating. And the NFL record for the best passer rating in a single season is held by one of the all-time greats, Aaron Rodgers, who in 2011 had a passer rating of 122.5. Now, passer rating is a number that I rarely use. I don't know how much you use it. Your local arguments at the office, yelling at somebody who's a Cowboys fan in your office, you're probably not bringing up passer rating, but go back to it and just use the heart of those stats: completion percentage, yards per attempt, interception percentage, touchdown percentage. All very simple numbers. Here are the historicals: Rodgers, Manning. The last, not the last three, because Foles and Tannehill also led the league, but most of the guys here who led in passer rating were also, MVPs or MVP candidates. Steve Young did it 6 times. Last, his highest rating was in 94. Anyway, we're not going to dive too deep into all those numbers. So this is what it is. This is passer rating right here. Simple numbers. And I'll admit it's something I didn't use for a long time, in part because I didn't quite realize how simple it was. And then one of our listeners, Matt, who has been sending me research stuff for a long time, but recently has been sending me a ton of great research. Matt does a ton of this research just for fun. And he sent me this yesterday, DM. So thank you to Matt. Matt says, here's what Brock Purdy has to do in order to pass Aaron Rodgers' single season passer rating record of 122.5. He was on a pretty good pace, and Matt and I were DMing during the game yesterday. Brock threw that pick, and you went, uh-oh, is he going to be able to keep this up? But then the yards went through the roof for that game, and it helped him make up some of what he lost with the pick. So here's what Matt said. Head of research here at GFF, assistant head of research at GFF. He said, this is what Brock needs. If his average stat line the next 4 weeks is 22 of 28, 290 yards, 2.5 touchdowns, and no interceptions, he can break Aaron Rodgers' single season passer rating record. All right. So I'll put it in a simpler form. Here's about what Brock needs to do. Not about, minimum. Now, you throw a pick, now the yards go up. You don't have quite the completion percentage. Now maybe you throw more touchdowns. So there's ways to manage it. But the question is, can Brock Purdy do this over the next 4 weeks and have the single season NFL record for passer rating? Well, this week the Niners play the Cardinals. The Cardinals are 25th in yards per attempt defense, passing. The next week, they play the Ravens. The Ravens are number 1 in yards per attempt defense. The next week, they play the Commanders. The Commanders are number dead last in yards per attempt defense, 32nd. And then they finish with the Rams, who are in the middle. Rams are 13th in yards per attempt defense. So it's going to be you got the Cardinals bad, Ravens good, Washington terrible, Rams kind of in the middle. That's what he's got coming up. And when you think about these numbers, let's look at his recent game logs, right? He's been playing great. Did he get 2 touchdowns? Didn't have 2.5. Debo, not quite reaching the goal line on that. It was a lot of yak. And the 1 pick, those were bad yesterday. But what helped him? The yards per attempt were huge, 13.6, because he threw for whatever it was, 368. And the completion percentage was over 70%. I said it on the pod yesterday, but I got to repeat it. Brock Purdy, the first 3 games of this year was 66%, 68%, 68%. If I told you after 3 games That's going to be what you've seen from a completion percentage standpoint. That's going to be Brock this year. Everybody would have taken it. Here's the thing. Since the first 3 games, only the Browns game has Purdy had a completion percentage of under 70%. Since the Browns game, he's gone 70%, 71%, 73%. Tampa was 84%, and he's had 3 straight games of basically exactly 70%. So, 290, 2.5 touchdowns, no interceptions, 22 of 28. Well, the week before the Seattle game, 314, 4 touchdowns, 19 of 27. 21 of 30 the first time against Seattle, 209, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. The Tampa game, 21 to 25, 333, 3 touchdowns, no picks. I think the hardest part of reaching this is going to be the 22 to 28. In terms of just the volume, the percentage is like yesterday at halftime. I made the note yesterday at the half. At the half yesterday, I was like, how's he playing? I thought he was playing fine. He was playing well. His floor was high. But then I checked the numbers on a first half that was it was fine. It was good. It was fine. I checked the number. Where did I write this? And at the half, when I looked at the halftime, I was like, oh, this is going to be, he's got a shot at like a real game here statistically, because he was 9 of 14 at 64%. Like, okay, but 150 and a touchdown. So I felt at that time like he's going to be better than 64% in the second half. And he's already at 150. So he's easily going to get to 280, which he did. I mean, he blew by it, especially against that Seattle team where you can just keep scoring. So that's what it looks like. If you want Brock Purdy to break Aaron Rodgers' single season passer record rating, and it would break several 49ers, it would pass all these great Steve Young seasons and a few really good Joe Montana seasons. Right now, by the way, he does lead the league. I mean, the odds of him leading the league are good. He's at 116.9. So he leads the NFL as it is. Like at this point, he's going to join this list of guys that led the NFL in passer rating. It's not all Hall of Famers, right? It includes Foles and Tannehill. Those guys had 2 of the top. That Foles year was like a 10-win Chip Kelly year, I think. Tannehill in 19, Brady, Matt Ryan, right? So, but it's still an excellent list. Milt Plum in 60. Couldn't tell you about Milt, but they don't make names like they used to. I know that. So that's what it comes down to. That's what it is. And the question is just like, let's say he does that. Does that win him the MVP if you care about such a thing? I said last night I made just a quick reaction video to the Cowboys-Eagles game. And I said, Dak, I was like, okay, I looked at Dak numbers, like Dak played well. And somebody in the comments said Dak did not play well, which statistically it was not anything special. But I think to me, Dak didn't lose ground. If you're pro Dak, primetime game, his numbers were not as good as Brock's yesterday. But in prime time, he went and kicked the Eagles' ass, which is what Brock did the week before. And when Brock did it with better numbers, the conversation of him as an MVP went through the roof. Now, I am not a Dak for MVP guy, but I understand the market is pretty thin right now in the MVP race, and it feels like it's Brock and Dak. And Lamar, I think, has a chance, even though the touchdown pass numbers are not huge. Lamar's got a chance. Just when you watch him, you go, that guy, maybe he does have a chance, right? This team could win 13, 14 games. So he'll play Brock head-to-head. That's going to be a big game. The Cowboys have a bunch of big-time games coming up, Miami, Buffalo. So, Dak will have the opportunities. But Dak's team won that game. I don't think it changed anything in the argument this week from last week. I don't think it did. So some might disagree with that. Jeff said Foles played like a Hall of Famer that season. The way that Spencer says the way that Purdy can turn the nose down on intermediate throws is really impressive. Yeah, I mean, we are nothing if not nose down ball aficionados, quarterback aficionados here. The ball gets from I went back and watched again the throw that Ayuk fumbled on, which was not a over the top throw. That ball was on a line in a tight window. Marco says, guess the 3 QBs with a completion percentage above 70. 2 are qualified leaders. Third is a backup that recently filled in for an injured guy. All right, I'm going to look it up, but I'm not going to look it up before I answer. So Brock, Tua, and a backup that recently filled in for an injured guy. Like, it's not going to be Easton Stick. Qualified leaders. Oh, 2 are qualified. I don't know who the third is. All right. So what is the stat? Because you didn't give me the answer, Marco. You just asked the question, which is fine. Passing leaders. I don't know who that guy would be. Jameis? I guess Jameis. Completion percentage. Jake Browning. So Brock, 70.2, Tua, 70.1, and Jake Browning, 75.5. That's a good one. That's a good trivia question. Browning, 5 touchdowns, 2 picks. Maybe they knew what they were doing. I thought they were kind of crazy to let Brandon Allen go just because he was experienced, understood the system. But they knew what they were doing. The votes are writers, right? Yes. Mostly. I don't know exactly what the breakdown is, but I heard Papa mentioned something. He was talking to Josh Dubow about it. I guess there's not a lot of MVP voters on the West Coast, which, as we saw with the Heisman voting, mattered. I mean, I'm a Heisman voter. I voted for Michael Penix. He did not win. I do think the geography comes into play on for that, for sure. Jimmy G, the master of the hospital ball. Yeah, I saw. I didn't get. Maybe I'll get to this later in the day or tomorrow. But I saw somebody had a. Who was it? Oh, it was Nick Wagoner. I saw he tweeted some Jimmy G versus Purdy stat. Joe says the critics talk about Purdy doesn't have a good deep ball. Then he goes off in this game. You think he hears the noise, tries to prove him wrong? I don't think so. I mean, yes, everybody hears it to a degree. Everybody tries to prove the people wrong to a degree, but I don't think he's out there like watching First Take or, oh man, did you see what Nick Wright said about me? You guys aren't going to believe this. I don't. There's not time for that. I don't think. I mean, you can hear some of it, but I don't think you spend a lot of time on it. Yeah, trajectory over velocity, shortest distance between 2 points, and the ball he threw to Kittle and the ball he threw to Debo. Go look at the arc on those balls. I made the comparison yesterday on the pod last night to the Steph Curry 3, which goes so high and it gives the ball the best chance to go through the basket because it comes in steep. He throws that deep ball with a very shallow angle of descent. I think yesterday I said steep, but it's a shallow angle of descent, which means you don't have a lot of room for error. But it's part of maybe how it's how you get the ball there faster. You just got to put it on the dude, and that's what he did to Debo, and that's what he did to Kittle yesterday. So, all right. Well, thanks to Matt in research here at GFF Properties. Appreciate that, Matt. Keep them coming. Matt knows I love his research, so well done by Matt there. And there's the guy. We'll see if he can chase down that other guy who has that record from 2011 that all these other dudes didn't accomplish. So that's that for this. Thanks for hanging out. If you're here right now, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that. Share it with your friends, and we'll talk soon. Later, everybody.